WVUT Vincennes, a part of Vincennes University Broadcasting.
Good evening. In the news tonight, a Spanish-Australian consortium is the winning bidder to lease and operate the Indiana Toll Road for 75 years. And Ford's chairman says the major job cuts announced today are a painful last resort.
In sports, the teams are set for Super Bowl 40, and the Lakers' Kobe Bryant continues his torrid scoring streak.
News Center 22 is next. A Spanish-Australian company is the high bidder to lease and operate the Indiana Toll Road. Governor Daniels says the company, called Statewide Mobility Partners, is bidding $3.8 billion to lease the 157-mile road for 75 years. Some Indiana Democrats say Governor Daniels' plan to privatize the Indiana Toll Road is a bad idea. In fact, State Senator Karen Talion of Portage says that over the next 75 years, the Indiana Toll Road is expected to generate more than $6.75 billion. But she says the governor wants to sell it for just $3.8 billion. Talion says it doesn't make any sense. And she says the lease would give the private operator of the toll road, a foreign company, the authority to stop local road projects which they feel may infringe upon their ability to make a profit. Highways aren't the only things the Daniels administration wants to privatize. New state park lodges at Indiana Dunes and 2 other locations could carry the brand of a national lodging chain. Indiana State Parks and Reservoirs Assistant Director Gary Miller says the lodges proposed for Indiana Dunes, Potato Creek, and Versailles State Park would be the state's first developed and operated by a private industry. Miller says they could be independently owned or carry the brand of a national chain, but they must meet the state standards and fit their surroundings. But they also must be full-service inns, meaning they would have at least 75 rooms, a restaurant, and recreation and meeting space. The Department of Natural Resources has set an informational meeting Friday in Indianapolis for potential private developers. The Knox County Solid Waste Management District has set up a temporary office at the Vincennes Street Department on Bayou Street. The district office in the Hillcrest building was damaged by an arson fire about 2 weeks ago. Director Pat Grazik says the search continues for a permanent home. Grazik says the Solid Waste District lost most of its educational materials that were stored in the basement where the fire started. Meanwhile, another victim of the fire, the Purdue Extension Service, has moved to the Southwest Purdue Ag Center just outside of Vincennes. The Knox County Commissioners may learn at tonight's meeting exactly how much damage the fire caused and how much the county's insurance will pay for. A preliminary estimate puts the damage to the building at $600,000 and damage to its contents at $400,000. Security officers are now in place at the Knox County Courthouse and Courthouse Annex. The county's criminal justice coordinator says 5 part-time security officers are handling security in selected cases in the county's 3 courts. Robert Brody says the 3 off-duty officers and 1 retired police officer will work about 10 to 15 hours per week. He says at least 1 security guard will be on duty at any one time. The new security officers started work last Tuesday. A Vincennes man is facing a charge of burglary in connection with the theft of some DVDs from an apartment at Bowman Terrace. Vincennes police tracked down 22-year-old Christopher Thomas after he sold the DVDs at a local pawn shop. A public hearing will be held in Vincennes next month to help the Indiana Department of Environmental Management develop a plan to improve water quality in the Wabash River. The hearing will be held from 6 until 8 p.m. on February 9th in the council chambers at the Vincennes City Hall. It will be one of 6 hearings to be held across the state. Item watershed specialists will provide an overview of the water quality improvement program to be developed. They will also explain how residents can be involved in the state's processing for determining what is causing water quality to be poor and how to improve it. The Wabash River begins at the Ohio-Indiana border in Jay County and flows 475 miles through 52 other counties to its confluence with the Ohio River below Mount Vernon. 2/3 of Indiana's watersheds drain to this river. Water samples taken from multiple locations along the river show levels of E. coli bacteria are above those allowed under state and federal water quality standards. You'll be able to see on a map if a sex offender lives in your neighborhood under an enhanced registry that goes online today. The database is on the web at indianasheriffs.org. It consolidates 2 existing sex offender registries and can be searched by an offender's name, city, county, or zip code. However, the site was still not working late this afternoon. Once it is, you can view maps covering areas ranging from 20 miles to 1 mile and see icons showing where offenders live and in some cases work. A click on the icon will show pictures of offenders and their profile, including home and work addresses and information about their crimes. Hoosiers won't get to vote on a new state tourism slogan as residents of some other states have done. The marketing and research firms helping to develop the new slogan say they're using focus groups instead. Indiana began looking for a new state tourism slogan in December. The old slogan, Enjoy Indiana, is being retired after 7 years. The new slogan is expected to be announced this spring. Still to come on Newscenter 22, Ford Motor Company is making some major cutbacks in personnel and facilities in order to get its cars back on the road. And Saddam Hussein's trial in Iraq is getting new judges. Stay with us.
Tune in to WVUT this Monday night. At 8, watch Antiques Roadshow. Circus toys and posters are among the items appraised in Tampa, Florida. At 9, American Experience presents John and Abigail Adams, an engrossing portrait of the second U.S. President and First Lady. This biography co-stars Simon Russell Beale and Linda Emmons. One highlight is an examination of the friendship and rivalry between John Adams and Thomas Jefferson. Monday night on WVUT.
Ford says it will cut up to 30,000 jobs and idle 14 plants by the year 2012. The restructuring announced by CEO Bill Ford is aimed at stemming huge losses in the #2 automaker's North American operations. Ford says the company's focus has to be on building cars that consumers want, noting the automaker was slow to shift its production mix away from gas-guzzling sports utility vehicles. The cuts represent up to a quarter of Ford's North American workforce of 122,000 people. Ford has approximately 87,000 hourly workers and 35,000 salaried workers in the region. Plants to be idled through 2008 include St. Louis, Atlanta, Wixom, Michigan assembly plants, and Batavia Transmission in Ohio. Windsor Casting in Ontario will also be idled as previously announced following contract negotiations with the Canadian Auto Workers. Another 2 assembly plants will be determined later this year. President Bush says in authorizing domestic eavesdropping, he was only doing what Congress told him to do, protect Americans from terrorist attacks. Critics maintain the warrantless phone and email intercepts violate a law requiring agents to seek the approval of Special Intelligence Court. But speaking at Kansas State University, Bush insisted Congress gave him the authority when it approved the use of force after 9/11. He says if a suspected al-Qaeda operative is phoning America, he wants to know why. The appearance was part of a public relations offensive ahead of planned congressional hearings on the subject next month. Saddam Hussein's trial in Iraq is getting new judges. The chief government investigator tells the Associated Press the top 2 judges are being replaced. The chief judge resigned over government criticism of his handling of the case. Trial resumes tomorrow. The military is reporting a 3rd American death in Iraq. Officials say a roadside bomb killed a soldier on foot patrol in southwest Baghdad today. The military says another 2 American airmen died in a roadside bomb attack north of the city yesterday. A 3rd American was wounded in that attack. The American deaths pushed the war's total to at least 2,227. Of gunmen in police uniforms killed at least 6 Iraqis across the city today. The raid hit homes and a mosque in a mostly Sunni Arab neighborhood. The armed men seized more than 20 people, and all but 3 are still missing. An Iraqi official say 6 Iraqi women in custody may soon be free. He says it's an ordinary release that has nothing to do with the demands of those who kidnapped American reporter Jill Carroll. The kidnappers have threatened to kill Carroll unless U.S. forces released all Iraqi women in military custody. A deadline passed late Friday with no word on her fate. Halliburton is disputing allegations that troops and civilians at U.S. military base in Iraq were exposed to contaminated water last year. The allegations were made by its own employees and documented in company emails. Senate Democrats held a public inquiry today. The future of peace in the Middle East is just one of many issues up in the air as Palestinians head to the polls for parliamentary elections. Polls indicate a close race between the ruling Fatah faction and the militant Islamic group Hamas. The two groups differ widely on a variety of issues, and the outcome of the election may change the shape of the region. John Voss reports on how Hamas has already transformed one West Bank city.
All politics is local, they say, and in the West Bank city of Qalqilya, all local politics is controlled by Hamas. At municipal elections held in June last year, the militant Islamic group, considered a terrorist organization by Israel and the United States, was swept into office. Winning every seat on the city council, voters elected a mayor who is being held in an Israeli jail and is still there today. Hashem El-Masri is the acting mayor. In the last 8 months, he says, the city's debt of $1.5 million US has been paid. He predicts a small budget surplus this year. Qalqilya has set an obvious example for Hamas, he told me. How? El-Masri says greater financial oversight and competitive bidding for city projects have saved hundreds of thousands of dollars. One example, the city's roads. By putting the contract out to tender, he says, the city reduced the cost by 1/3. And with the looming parliamentary elections, all of this has been a political blow for Fatah, the party of Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. Ahmed Haza is a Fatah candidate. It gave us a kind of dangerous indicator that if we continued infighting and pursued our own personal interest, he says, we would not succeed in any election. Not everyone here is happy, though. Hamas, with its strict interpretation of Islam, stopped a cultural festival by refusing permission to use the school ground because the festival involves singing and dancing and men mixing with women. But the biggest complaint has to do with the cost of electricity. I voted for Hamas, but I no longer want them, says this store owner, because they raise the price of power.
In many ways, Qalqilya is an example of the much bigger political struggle between Hamas and Mahmoud Abbas's Fatah party. Hamas is campaigning on a platform of open, honest and accountable government, while Fatah, which has dominated Palestinian politics for a generation, is perceived by many as ineffective, even corrupt.
But Hamas also advocates the destruction of Israel, and that has many Palestinians and a lot more Israelis worried about what might happen to the peace process should the militant group repeat its electoral success in Qalqilya in the parliamentary elections. John Voss, CNN, Qalqilya.
A top Iranian envoy says Iran will immediately retaliate if referred to the UN Security Council next week. The envoy warns Tehran will move ahead with developing a full-scale uranium enrichment program. The enrichment process can be used for electricity, but it is also a precursor to nuclear weapons production. Kenyan riot police have been using truncheons to clear crowds out of the way of emergency vehicles headed to a collapsed building. A hospital worker says at least 10 people died and more than 60 were seriously injured. Witnesses say the building was full of construction workers. In the war against unhealthy eating, is deceptive advertising and children's programming making kids fat? That's at the heart of a new lawsuit against Kellogg Foods and Nickelodeon's parent company, Viacom. Carol Lynn reports.
Sherry Carlson is the mother of 3 young children, ages 4, 8, and 11. Her biggest concern? Keeping junk food away from her kids.
It's an uphill battle. I try.
Carlson says her children are always asking her to buy the high-sugar snacks they see on store shelves and on television commercials. She blames kid-friendly advertising for her children's cravings.
They just make them so enticing with just fun, upbeat, eat this and have fun kind of situation. If I go offer a granola bar, it's not quite the same as, having some fun Pop-Tart or something.
Carlson joined 2 consumer activist groups in a pending class action lawsuit in Massachusetts against Viacom, owner of the children's network Nickelodeon, and the cereal maker Kellogg. The plaintiffs say Kellogg and Viacom practice deceptive advertising by specifically marketing high-sugar products to young children. They want Nickelodeon to stop airing junk food ads during programming for kids under 8 years old. They also want both corporations to stop using popular children's figures like SpongeBob SquarePants.
Do you know who this is?
SpongeBob.
Carlson says her youngest child, 4-year-old Paige, is already responding to this type of advertising.
She'll see a character, and even though if she's never even tasted the product, never even had it, but since she sees her friend on the box, she wants it.
Kellogg and Nickelodeon declined to speak to CNN on camera, but released the following statements. Nickelodeon says it has been an acknowledged leader and positive force in educating and encouraging kids to live healthier lifestyles. Kellogg says it is proud of its products and the contributions they make to a healthy diet. We have a long-standing commitment to marketing in a responsible manner, and our messages accurately portray our products. Carlson disagrees.
Nickelodeon, yeah, they have really good health messages. And then, then they put on some junky ad right after the health food messages.
The Center for Science in the Public Interest, one of the groups involved in the lawsuit, agrees that both Nickelodeon and Kellogg have initiatives to promote children's health. But they say it's not enough.
If you see the kinds of foods that bear characters like SpongeBob and Fairly Odd Parents and so on, it's junk. 90% or more.
Sherry Carlson knows that kids will always want to eat sugary foods and hopes this lawsuit will protect them.
Our kids are so important and they're so vulnerable.
Carol Lynn, CNN.
Still to come on News Center 22, Alan Schaefer has this evening's weather.
The public is invited to attend Meet Your Legislators on Saturday, January the 28th at 9 a.m. in Davis Hall on the Vincennes University campus. The forum will include information from area legislators, followed by a question and answer session. Viewers can phone in their questions the day of the show to 812-888-5334 or send your email questions to wvut@vinu.edu. Our live broadcast begins at 9 a.m. and the show will be rebroadcast that same day on WVUT at 5 p.m.
Well, Alan, it's been a little chilly today. Is a warm-up in our future?
It has been pretty chilly today, but we do have a little warm-up in our future. Good evening, everyone. As we take a look at our current conditions, we are currently sunny skies at 39 degrees. The wind is northwest at 7 miles per hour. The humidity is at 72%, and the barometric pressure is at 30.21 and steady. Some area temperatures, we have Owensville at 45 and sunny skies. Petersburg is at sunny skies and 47. Linton has overcast skies and 32 degrees. And Mount Carmel is at 39 degrees and cloudy skies. Some national temperatures, we have St. Louis at 31, Tampa, Florida at 76. Denver, Colorado is at 28, and Butte, Montana is at 44. Our frontal map will show us that the East Coast has a lot of rain and snow showers. This is due to this area of low pressure bringing moist air off of the Atlantic. We are currently on the front side of this high pressure system, which is bringing us the clear, cooler skies that we have today. Towards the west coast, we have this area of high pressure, which is dominating most of the weather, bringing them clear skies also. Let's take a look at your forecast. Tonight, clear with a low of 31. Tomorrow, sunny with some wind, a high of 49. Tomorrow night, clear, a low of 28. For Wednesday, we have sunny skies, a high of 41 and a low of 26. For Thursday, we have cloudy skies, a high of 42 and a low of 32. And for Friday, we have cloudy skies, a high of 49 and a low of 42. And Amy, that's a look at your weather.
Thanks, Alan. Still to come on News Center 22, Kurt Maddox has the latest with the Vincennes track team, and points were in abundance in the NBA over the weekend. Stay with us.
Win the lottery? Get real. Real college, real experience, real careers, really fast.
Vincennes University Preview Day, February 18th. Log on to vinu.edu.
Make 30 grand a month in real estate? Get real. Real college, real experience, real careers, really fast. Vincennes University Preview Day, February 18th. Register at vinu.edu.
Super Bowl 40 matchup is set. Good evening, everyone. For TV 22 Sports, I'm Kurt Maddox. The Pittsburgh Steelers earned a trip to Super Bowl 40 with an impressive 34-17 win in Denver. Now Big Ben, the bus, and all those terrible towel-waving fans head to Detroit for a February 5th matchup against the NFC champion Seattle Seahawks. The Steelers are the first 6th seed to reach the Super Bowl. They are the first team since the 1985 New England Patriots to win 3 road games en route to the Super Bowl. Ben Roethlisberger completed 21 of 29 passes for 275 yards and a pair of touchdowns to lead the winners to the 3rd straight road playoff victory. The Seattle Seahawks will be making their first appearance in the Super Bowl when they represent the NFC in the championship game against Pittsburgh in 2 weeks in Detroit. The Seahawks earned their Super Bowl 40 berth by outclassing the Carolina Panthers 34-14 to win the NFC Championship. Shaun Alexander, the Seahawks MVP running back, ran 34 times for 132 yards and 2 TDs. Quarterback Matt Hasselbeck was extremely efficient, completing 20 of 27 passes for 219 yards and 2 TDs. The victory sends Seattle coach Mike Holmgren to his 3rd Super Bowl. Tony Dungy is coming back to coach the Indianapolis Colts. It didn't take long for the veteran coach to make up his mind. After the Colts were beaten by Pittsburgh last weekend, Dungy said he wasn't sure if he'd be back or not. In a statement released by the team, Dungy said he was always coming back unless I said I wasn't. The Buffalo Bills have named a new head coach. As expected, Dick Jauron, the former head coach of the Chicago Bears and interim coach of the Detroit Lions, has been given the job. Jauron went 35-46 in 5 seasons with the Bears and was the NFL Coach of the Year in 2001, following a 13-3 finish. The NBA is still abuzz over Kobe Bryant's 81-point performance last night, the 2nd greatest scoring performance in NBA history. Bryant hit for a team scoring record in the Lakers' 122-104 win over Toronto. Only Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point performance for Philadelphia on March 2, 1962, surpassed Bryant's total. Bryant scored 55 points in the second half, including 28 in the fourth, when he was virtually the only Laker taking shots. Bryant broke Elgin Baylor's team scoring record of 71. Bryant broke that mark with a basket with 4:19 left in the game. Ray Allen canned a 30-footer at the second overtime buzzer to give the Seattle Supersonics a 152-149 victory over the Phoenix Suns in the league's highest scoring contest in 11 years. The teams combined for a record 32 three-pointers. That breaks the mark of 31 set by Toronto and Philadelphia on March 13, 2005. The 301 points were the most in a game since Dallas beat Houston 156-147 in 2 overtimes in 1995. It was the first 150-point game in the NBA since 1998. The Connecticut Huskies are the new #1 team in the Associated Press Top 25 Men's College Basketball poll. The Huskies replaced Duke, which lost on Saturday to Georgetown 87-84. The loss drops Duke to #2 in the poll. The third-ranked school in this week's poll is Memphis, while Texas and Florida bring up the rear among top 5 schools. Following #6 Villanova are Gonzaga, Illinois, West Virginia, and Washington. The nation's top 2 teams in women's college basketball are set to square off tonight in Durham, North Carolina, as Duke entertains #1 Tennessee. The Lady Vols are coming off an emotional game Thursday when Coach Pat Summitt notched her 900th career victory. A year ago, the Blue Devils beat Tennessee in Knoxville. Vincennes University sophomore guard Chris Clark nailed 6 of his 7 3-point field goals in the second half Saturday night to propel the Trailblazers by Olney Central College 80-67 on the Blue Knights' home court. Clark was held to just 5 first-half points, but ended up with a season and game-high total 25 points in VU's 16th win of the season. Vincennes will host Lincoln Trail College at 7 p.m. tomorrow night after the women's teams play the 5 o'clock opener. Freshman point guard Jana Reese had hit a 10-foot jump shot in the front of the basket with 1 second to play, giving the Vincennes University Lady Trailblazers a 63-61 win at Olney Central College Saturday night. Her basket bailed out the Lady Blazers, who saw a 16-point, 50-34 second-half lead melt away on Olney Central's sticky full-court press and stellar three-point shooting by Blue Knight reserve guard Ashley Greenwood, who led the Knights with 15 points. The Vincennes University men's and women's track teams posted some impressive performances in the Wabash College Alumni Invitational Meet in Crawfordsville Saturday. Freshman Courtney Ware won the women's long jump and 55-meter dash and placed second in the 200 meters. Teammate Nichelle Curtis won the women's 200 meters and placed second in the 55 meters. The Trailblazers also captured the men's 4x400 relay in a time of 3:29. The Blazers and Lady Blazers will participate in the Indiana University Open Meet in Bloomington Friday and Saturday. Finally in sports, Chad Campbell shot a scrambling 71 to outlast Scott Verplank and Jesper Parnevik and win the Bob Hope Chrysler Classic. It's Campbell's first tour victory since winning the 2004 Bay Hill Invitational. Campbell's 1 under closing round put him at 25 under 335. That was 3 shots in front of Verplank and the 2000 Hope champion Parnevik. And Amy, that's a look at sports.
Thanks, Kurt. Still to come on News Center 22, the new president on the West Wing already is a lame duck. I'll explain when we return.
Coming up this week on 22 Magazine, Vincennes Community School Corporation Superintendent Doug Rose talks about a $56 million building plan approved by the school board in December. And Lynn Rump, Director of Distance Education at Vincennes University, talks about VU's distance education offerings and gives us a close-up view of what an online class is all about. The next time on 22 Magazine, Saturday night at 7:30 on WVUT.
The West Wing is a lame duck even before the show's new president is decided. NBC has announced it's canceling the Emmy-winning show after 7 seasons. Ratings have dropped since the show was moved from Wednesday to Sunday nights. NBC says the decision was made before John Spencer's death last month. Spencer played former presidential chief of staff and current vice presidential candidate Leo McGarry. The finale will be May 14th, preceded by a 1-hour retrospective. The West Wing won 4 straight Emmys as Best TV Drama. Among other moves, the network is bumping Law & Order up an hour on Wednesdays, meaning it'll compete directly with ABC blockbuster Lost. And that's all for now. Join us again tomorrow. For Alan Schaefer and Kurt Maddox, I'm Amy Reef. Good night.